thing. My computer showed another thing. My clock showed another thing. I was like, oh, man, I hope I got it before the show started. All right, let me see here. All right, we are live. So I guess let's just go ahead. Do you want to start with the optimizer? I think that's where we need to start.
Because I haven't really messed around with the optimizer that much. The reason I say that is because it's been, I swear I didn't make any adjustments that really were pertinent to the optimal lineup, and then it spit out a completely different lineup, which it shouldn't happen statistically, but it tells me that maybe two drivers are exactly the same, and so it might swap in and out. And but overall, if you watched us in the live stream last night, I don't know what you were doing, but we were not very happy with what the optimizer was spitting out. It's gotten a little bit better, but my takeaway is this, and we talked about this last night. The salaries are really tight. Salaries are probably too tight, and it makes it really challenging to build lineups, especially, I mean, in general, especially when we compare it to the first 2 weeks, where I think there was a lot of, the salaries were much looser and forgiving and easier to build. It's so tight that I see two possible scenarios popping up where we get three top tier guys, and even going up above Hamlin in some cases. And my computer is deciding to go slow, so I don't know if I'm still right. There it is. And then you end up with three ugly guys. This is not the worst one yet. I've seen the optimizer say Haley and Ware. I've seen the optimizer just do some really ugly, nasty things. So one scenario, because it's so tight, you may end up with a true stars and scrubs. And I talked about this at racefortheprize.com in my weekend notes. That usually I don't like using the term stars and scrubs. Someone mentioned that yesterday. I'm like, well, it's not really stars and scrubs. This is stars and scrubs. And I have no problem taking other DFS lingo and bringing it over today and using it because it's ugly. We talked about it again last night. The value guys, there's not a good case for any of them. The other option, because salaries are so tight, you only take two lap leaders or two hogs or two dominators, and you're going to have to leave someone out, which doesn't feel right, but the salaries are tight. What's your stance?
Right now, I'm probably going to run three dominator lineups in a vast majority. I think the way
those lineups are ugly, though. And you're just going to deal with it.
I think I'm going to deal with it. Yeah. Let's see. How many do I have right now? I'll probably play 20 today. So I'll do probably 11 or 12, two dominator, and then I guess 9 or 8, three dominator. So maybe it's 50-50 for me. But gun to my head, I think a three dominator one wins. But I think I'm just... It really depends on what value you like. Like Chris Buescher's probably my favorite in that range. And I'm not paying up for, I'm not paying up for Logano. I'm not paying up for Harvick. So it should be easier for me to get to him. If I'm playing a three dominator lineup and I'm playing like Harvick or,
but you're paying up for Elliott, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm paying up for Elliott.
He's more expensive than Logano.
Yeah, but he's about the only expensive guy that I want to pay up for.
Brad Keselowski's not expensive.
No, that's not too expensive. 10,000 doesn't kill you.
How can you say, well, I'm not paying up for Logano, but then say, oh, Brad Keselowski's fine, and he's $700 cheaper?
I don't have the sheet pulled up yet. Hold on.
Come on. I understand your confidence in Brad Keselowski and your confidence in Chase Elliott, but that confidence isn't because of the price points. It's because of what they've done. And if that's the case, then you should be confident in Logano regardless of his price because of what he's done.
Look, we're going to talk. I'm not playing Logano, okay? I'm levering
but...
I'm not playing Logano. So let's see. I'm not playing Harvick. Chase is the only expensive guy I'm paying up for. What? I'm not paying up for Kyle Busch. And so if I remove Kevin Harvick, Elliott, Logano, Kyle Busch.
Elliott? You're removing Elliott?
I mean,
Logano, Harvick, Busch. Yeah. Okay.
If I remove those, the only expensive guy I'm paying up for would be Keselowski or Elliott.
So if you like Keselowski and Elliott, then how do you build a three-hog lineup?
Exactly. It's pretty rough.
And another thing is, so let's say we go to the two, which is kind of, you're not building as much. I would, generally have no problem going to two hogs. If you look at last year's optimal lineup in the fall, it was a two driver race. Now, someone mentioned in the YouTube comments before, it is kind of hard to look at that championship race at Phoenix because everyone was really just like acquiescing to the leaders and letting them basically have all the laps led, letting them to run all the fast laps. We're not going to see that kind of privilege today, I guess, if you want to use that word. But if we look at last year's fall optimal lineup, even with Keselowski putting up a monster number and Hamlin putting up a hefty number, it still is just a 2-guy lineup. So we say, okay, well, maybe we go with the 2-hog lineup. The problem, it may not be the problem, but it was a lot easier to do that last year because there was a lot of confidence in Jimmy Johnson based on that package, the way that Hendrick was running. He was starting 26th. Byron as well, starting 25th. We don't have those easy plays that says, oh, yeah, it's fine. I can do a 2-hog lineup because I've got these guys. And you even still had to put freaking Brendan Poole at 4,700 in that lineup. So, as like, oh, yeah, well, that makes sense. That makes sense. That looks good. Bubba's not that bad. You still had to take Bubba. You still had to take Brendan Poole. That's not really the most comfortable spot. And I would argue that going this 2 route, it's much worse this time. You don't have an easy Johnson. Maybe you say it's Eric Almirola. It's not comparable. Eric Almirola is not this deadlock the way that he has been running. Yeah, if you just trust track history, sure, Eric Almirola looks pretty good. But Johnson and Byron were really solid safe plays last year going into this race. I don't see any solid safe play. Is there a solid safe? Maybe I've missed something. Tell me there's a solid safe play outside of the lap leaders.
Safe for like cash, or what are you just talking about?
I want it solid and safe.
Alex Bowman, because I have a lot of him.
I can't just because you had give me the case for Alex Bowman.
Okay, so let's talk about the case here with Alex Bowman. So Larson and Byron, they're cheating. They're going to the rear. Elliott's going to be fast.
You don't know that. You liked Alex Bowman before you knew that, though.
Yeah, exactly.
So you can't factor that into him being solid and safe.
I think Alex shows up with a decent setup. I don't think he's going to run what he was running last year at this race because 16th and 14th, that's just not going to do it. I don't see him running there again. I see him cracking into the top 10. I see him cracking into 8th or 9th place. And at his price, it's not crazy. If you want a safe play, I mean, go ahead. If you're playing cash, go ahead and knock yourself out with Eric Almirola. I won't do that.
Let's go back to Bowman. You're putting him as the number one safe play, and you've given me no reasons. Here's what I think it is. You're just doubling down because you liked him last week and bad luck hit, and so you're just going to double down.
No, that's not the situation.
You loved him last week. He looked good. It was going to be a great play. He has the issue at the end, and you're just rolling that over to this week.
No. God knows I'm not doing that. I'm not trying to recoup anything from last week with Bowman here.
What stat are you looking at that's saying this guy's going to be good at this specific track in this specific track type?
Well, go ahead. Well, let's go ahead and look. And I don't normally like looking at track history, but if we want to go look at stats, I think this race is going to race a lot more like Martinsville, to kind of where it's a one groove racetrack, which is kind of what we saw yesterday, where people really didn't pass anyone. Alex Bowman was decent at Martinsville last year. Richmond, same thing. I mean, he was inside the top 10 in one of the Richmond races, 16th in the other one. That's like the worst case scenario. Like, I think 16th's the worst case scenario. Like, I don't see Alex Bowman finishing outside the top 15 at all. So if I can at least guarantee, 14th, 13th place finish at the worst, I'm perfectly fine. And you can even see his flat rank average that you have on the screen is 11th. I mean, I'm perfectly fine with Alex Bowman at 8,700.
I don't mind looking at Martinsville, but shouldn't we first look at what he did at Phoenix? Look at the setup that they brought into Phoenix. One of the points I think we made in some show or whatever, if you look at this Phoenix race and you look at his laps, all he did was short runs in practice during the first Phoenix race, meaning they could not get the setup correct when they had practice, and it showed in that race. Then they had to guess at the end of the year, and they just didn't have it. I think he is safe. I don't mind that. It's an expensive safe play. I would rather roll the dice on Almirola, to be honest with you.
You're going to pay up for Eric? Man.
It's 87 for Alex Bowman.
Yeah, but you can fit Alex easier with,
$300
lineup.
And he's starting 32nd. And his track history actually checks out. But we'll just have to agree to disagree on that one. I mean, look at what Almirola did in the low downforce last year. Mm-hmm. It's not even close. He's hands down better than Bowman. Well, no, I think it's not even close. I say boom. I say Amarillo is better. All right. Okay. But so the fact that we are arguing and debating this, that means there really isn't anyone solid or safe. If our number one and our number two, there are legitimate gripes against both of them, there's no one solid or safe down here. Is there anyone else?
Like we honestly, we can't say any of the lap because we don't know who's going to be fast. Like we can assume Keselowski's going to lead. We can assume Elliott's going to lead, but we don't know that. I'm trying to find someone that I actually feel confident in. I mean, it has to be Bowman for me. If I'm not doing that, God, I mean, maybe.
No, there's no one. The fact that
there's no one. There's
no one solid or safe. And then so we take that idea and say, well, then why am I going the 2-hog route when there really isn't this obvious play of a guy who's guaranteed 10? I mean, I guess Almirola is probably going to get 10 place differential points, but he's going to need more than that at its price. Bowman can get away with 10 place differential points because that means he's also going to get a top 10. If I got him finishing 10th, though, that's just 5x at 8,700. That's not to be optimal. I think he's got to get 7th going to work. I think he probably needs 6th. That means he has to be the 6th best car against some teams that have really good setups, that have really run well. He has to flat out beat them. Do you think he beats Logano? Here's where you say, oh.
Yeah.
Like, I don't mind taking a stand of I don't believe in Logano, but what do you have to back it up other than just some gut instinct?
Well, I mean, look at Justin Allgaier yesterday. How many laps did I have him projected?
He was awesome.
Give or take 30. He didn't lead a whole lot.
Allgaier was great in a track where you couldn't pass, where you could not pass the leader. He still got the lead, led laps. He would have led all of stage 3 if it wasn't for a caution at the end. Hey, the cautions didn't go his way. He got into a wreck at the end. But as far as evaluating speed, yeah. So I guess if Logano wrecks, then fine. I mean, if that's your play, you think Logano's going to wreck?
No, I mean, I have Logano projected to lead 45 laps. So I think he leads, but I don't think he runs away with this.
45 laps and Bowman's going to beat him?
Well, you said who finishes better.
I understand, but if you're saying he has the speed to lead 45 laps, what happens that allows Bowman to finish higher than him?
I don't know. I can't argue that. Like, look, I mean, all the data is pointing to play Logano. I mean,
yes,
there's not an argument to be made against Logano. Yesterday, same thing with Allgaier. The argument was just hoping something happens and it doesn't work his way. And Allgaier, it didn't work out.
It didn't work out for anyone.
It didn't work out for
Hemrick had Hemrick had like 7. He had like 5 good breaks, but he had 6 bad breaks. Like, I cannot believe how much up and down. But so it could happen. But I hate to go into this slate saying just, I hope bad things happen to this guy and good things happen to that guy. I would like to have a little bit more control.
Hey, Dave, I'm not getting up with a lineup from Logano, okay? Because I didn't play Justin Allgaier.
We're going to get you in there. We're going to get you.
I'm not, man. I'm not taking that road.
I understand the argument with the price, but you're still playing Chase Elliott, so then that whole argument kind of fades. All right. Let's just rank our top. So you agree that it's worth considering the stars and scrubs. You're on the page for that. And that seems to be your popular build. And then you're also on the page with the 2 guys, but we're just not really satisfied with where you're going to go after you have the top 2. But hey, guess what? We're all in the same place. All right. Let's just rank some of our favorite guys to lead laps. You want to start with that?
All right, let's do that.
Let me give some color coding here. Let me predict where you're gonna go.
All right.
I believe that you will go number 1 on Brad Keselowski.
Number 1 on Chase Elliott.
Okay. Yeah. Splitting hairs. Is it a big difference?
No, it's very, very minuscule.
All right. So number 1 for you is going to be Chase Elliott. Number 2 is going to be Brad Keselowski. Now from here, I'm actually a little not sure because you're so low on Logano, which is where I would go. So I'm going to guess you're going to go with Hamlin.
Yep.
All right. So now if we're going to keep going, which I think we will have to, we got to go number 4. I think you're going to give in and say, all right, Logano. You have, okay, all right. Who else?
I have Larson getting one more point than Logano.
That's bold. That's bold. I'm not gonna. I think Larson could finish better. He could get the car into a good position and be there in stage 3, but it's going to be very difficult. And I know last year Chase Elliott drove through the field, but that doesn't count. That's a championship race where they let him through. They're not going to let Kyle Larson through. He's talented, and this is definitely the racetrack where we want to play Larson. We shouldn't forget that. The high horsepower, low downforce is where you play Larson. That's where all of his victories have come from. He had never won in that package last week until last week. So that's a bit of a surprise that he went out there and crushed the field. This is supposed to be the coming out party. So if anyone can run through the field, if there's 5 drivers that can get to the front pretty quickly, Larson would be a part of that group. I like Logano's starting position. And also, if we look at hog points, and this is kind of a Phil thing, not to steal his shtick, but Phil always likes to look at starting position in the hog points. It really does favor the guys at the front. And I know people will say, oh, well, actually, technically, Chase Elliott started in the back. Yes, but that doesn't count because they just led him to the front. So that's hard to say. But if you look, track position means a lot. And what did the drivers say in the Xfinity Series last year? This is 100% a track position race. It's almost more of a one-groove racetrack than it ever was before. All those things line up against Larson in the early stages to get hog points, which favor Logano. All right, are you at least going to go Logano 5?
Yeah, I do Logano 5.
All right, where are you going to go 6? This is getting pretty deep. I probably am not going to go this far. I like these guys a lot. They will probably be my core at the top. Where are you going 6?
I go Kyle.
Okay, yeah, I agree there. And I would like to try to sprinkle in some, but at that price, I probably won't do it. Who are you going 7?
Probably
try to hedge your bets and cover just in case this guy guesses with the setup. No.
Okay. So my reasoning behind that is we just talked about how crappy all the lineups are looking. I mean, if I get bitten by Logano or Harvick, let it be. But if I can just eliminate them from the pool, I don't have to worry. I don't have to deal with making lineups with them. I don't have to deal with the constraints. I'll just hit other guys.
So I got to pull up that what Logano has looked average so far. Pull that up. You cannot look at what Logano did in the high downforce package. You cannot take what happened at Homestead or what happened in those specific race setups and say, all right, well, they missed on. I don't think so. Do you think that those performances are going to determine that, well, I guess he's going to be wrong on the setup this week? I would tend to lean towards, hey, they guessed the setup right a lot in this package last year, especially when you compare it to how many times did they guess the high horsepower, or how many times were they right guessing high downforce versus how many times were they right guessing low downforce? And you're going to see that low downforce, they were better last year. I would assume the same thing's going to carry forward this year.
I would too. I mean, if you look at the road course at Daytona, I mean, he was one of the best cars.
Yeah, he almost won the race.
You know, he almost won that race. So I would assume, but we said the same thing with AJ yesterday. So
with AJ, I think that was just the groove was different. He wasn't comfortable with it, and that's just a mistake on my part. I really should have thought about. Yeah, you're right. Like, he had a lot of experience here, but he had a lot of experience when the racing groove was much lower. Maybe it was a little bit more passy. Yeah, whatever. It's a flaw. I don't know if necessarily. I'm not weighing the road course that much, to be honest.
No, I mean, if anything, it helps Logano look good because he was one of the best cars in that race. But that's about all I would do. I wouldn't carry the high downforce. Like Las Vegas last week isn't going to carry any weight. It's a different package. I'm not putting a whole lot of weight in that.
Do you have a 7th hog then? If you're not going to go Harvick, and I agree. I haven't even tried to build lineups. I've tried to build lineups with these guys, and it's awful. I can't imagine dropping in 11,900 because you got to take Harvick with somebody else.
Yeah.
Unless there's a bunch of wrecks, but we can't sit here and talk about, well, if there's a bunch of wrecks, then you can build a one-hog lineup. We can't do that. You can do that if you guys are building lineups, but I can't come on here and go over that as a possibility.
No, I mean, he's not a hog, but I do have him highlight. Like, regarding Larson and Byron, when it first happened last night, because we were on stream, And I was like, oh man, because I'd Larson project to lead a lot of laps. And so I cut him down. And then after looking at it and seeing how fast I think he's going to get through the field, I don't have him leading, the 65 laps that I had him leading before. But I still have Larson getting back up there. I still have Bowman getting back up there. I don't know if Bowman's going to be a hog, but I think Bowman can finish all right. 8,300 isn't that bad. And even though he's starting in the back, if you want to consider him a lap leader at 8,300, I wouldn't.
I can't do that. When we look at what he did in this package last year, and now he's got Rudy Fugle, a guy who hasn't set up one of these race car. I mean, he has no experience whatsoever in a low downforce, high horsepower car. He's there. They're going to lean on their setup from last year. They're going to lean on the notes of their teammates, and I really like having Chad Canales was probably a little bit of a benefit to him at these types of races last year. That's going to be a little bit of a detriment to them, and his numbers are okay, I guess, but okay at 8,300 starting in the back. I don't know about Byron. I'm back to Larson though. I'm fine with rostering Larson. It can work. I think you're probably better just going with Hamlin though.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I like Carson a lot more. I can see him turning on stage 3, but Hamlin could be there in stage 3 too, and Hamlin's going to run in the top 5, and generally cars in the top 5 more likely to earn a fast lap here or there. So, I mean, you just look last year in that fall race, Hamlin didn't lead a lap, but because Hamlin was running up front with the boys, he was able to every once in a while siphon off a point. 19.5 fast laps, no laps led. He'll be up top 5. It's more probable that Hamlin can get to 20 fast laps than Larson. Not saying that Larson can't, but just the sheer fact that he's going to be up front longer. Well, and remember, Hamlin didn't even get to run in the spring race. Well, he did. He suffered damage though, so he wasn't even able to really get full reps in or collect data as well. So, and he still went out there with the setup in the fall race and was pretty awesome. And he was great in that New Hampshire race. Richmond, not so much, but I'm pretty happy with this. I guess this is actually probably the easy part. We're about to get into the really ugly, nasty, and it's even going to be hard to even talk about these guys. So, do you just want to go from top to bottom? Stenhouse keeps popping up. I've kind of juiced him down so that he wouldn't. 17th place finish with cautions in stage 3, and we talked about 7 of the last 10. If you take out the championship race, you take out the rain shortened race, and there was one race where it was really close whether it ended with some cautions or if it ended, it was like a 30-lap run at the end. It's not really a long run, but it's not really caution filled. So we took that race out. You look at the last 10 at Phoenix, 7 have ended with cautions and very short runs. If there are very short runs, Stenhouse is able to hang on to track position. He can hang on to that lead lap. Maybe, steal some spots at the very end, like we saw Custer do, like we saw Bubba Wallace do, like we saw Ryan Preece do, even Daniel Suarez. So 17th isn't that crazy for Stenhouse. It's pushing it, so he is right there on the fringe. What do you? Track history sucks for him. This hasn't been a good place. Oh no, what do you think?
Oh no, I thought you went down.
Pushing the sheet to the limit.
So he's. We could probably get too many people in there. Oh yeah, there's only like 45. That's fine.
Yeah, I don't know. That's not bad. I think it's just my computer. Anyway, Stenhouse defense. Is there a Stenhouse defense?
I mean, there is, and it's this price tag. If you think, it really depends on on who gets lapped. We talked about this last night a little bit, but in detail, sure, we're gonna have yellows in stage 3. I just know we're gonna have yellows in stage 3. But how fast the leaders lap people here and catch the field, we're gonna have guys in the very back, like the ugly punts, going laps down on lap 19, probably right before the competition caution, and then after that, give them 30 laps, give them 40 laps, 50 laps. We're gonna see probably all the way up to 29th at that point. I don't think anything under 17th is safe from getting lapped or from going
that's a
lap
good point.
down.
Let's go over that. They're all pretty safe competition caution wise, but stage 1 wise, let's go through that real quick and we'll come back to Stenhouse. Stenhouse is going to stay on the lead lap through stage 1.
Yeah.
I'm not really talking about these guys right now. We'll see. I don't know.
Let's talk about the ugly value.
Ryan Preece, I think he stays on the lead lap in stage 1.
I think he does all right.
McDowell should be just there on the edge.
Mhm.
Butcher will stay.
Mhm.
Newman will stay. Chastain will stay. He'll be fine. Full Custer should. Bubba Wallace should.
Mhm.
Briscoe's going to be close.
I don't think Briscoe stays on the lead lap.
Yeah, it's close, and you're paying a price for it. Suarez probably not. It'll be close, probably in the other direction. Alfredo close, probably not. Haley close, probably not. And that really hurts these plays, which means we're going to need more cautions.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, we've seen like wave rounds because of all the different strategies, and we'll see people not take tires, and we're going to see people stay out. People are gambling is all over the place now. These wave rounds, at a high tire wear track like an Atlanta or a Homestead, yes, you can wave around and it can maybe save some value. There's tire wear here, but people will gamble. People have gambled and been successful. Logano stayed out. Was it here or was it that was Las Vegas last year? All the guys stayed out last year, and they were fine. Keselowski took the tires at the end. Everyone else stays out. So the wave round, it's not going to bail these guys out. They all become risky from that point. All right, let's go back to Stenhouse. So at least one little feather in his cap is that he should stay on the lead lap through stage 1. If you get him a caution or 2 in stage 2, maybe.
If Stenhouse can fall back and run 17th, 18th, 19th, and just avoid going a lap down before stage 1, I think he'll be at an advantage over guys behind him.
Now, we do have to mention that one of the reasons why he's starting as close as he is because it's really the high downforce package. They've been pretty good, and now they got to switch over. I don't know. Let's see what he's got.
In this situation, I don't know. I'm doing this live. I haven't looked at his lap data from the road.
If you look
course.
on the screen, his rating rank, which is close enough to lap data, it's basically average running position, factoring in some other stuff. 22nd. We go back to low downforce in 2018 and Roush equipment, 21st, 22nd. He's 22nd every time, which it sucks, but that's just right where you're going to hang on to the lead lap. That's just on the edge of the lead lap every single time. Unless we get a really long green flag run these toast, but it's kind of safe. But man, if you finish 22nd, that's not kill you.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Like he can finish good and still hurt you.
Oh yeah. I mean, like 17th is still 6.
Yeah.
I mean, usually we don't end up with the value that loses a bunch of points, but all right, that's enough Stenhouse talk. Pearce is probably the same thing, just a little bit better. Didn't run poorly last spring. In the fall race, he wrecked early, had issues. So, but that sucks. That's not good. We want guys that aren't going to wreck. Strange thing is, his teammate, the cars probably should be equal. Starting position being what it is, I probably trust Pearce a little more. I hope that's not recency bias from last week's just random good race at a track that doesn't mean anything.
So I would too. Looking at this is when I would kind of consider the lap data from the road course. You had Pearce actually hang inside, the top 15 for longer than Stenhouse did.
Yeah.
So, I mean, seeing Pearce run a road course, not running over people, not wrecking, finishing 9th, that certainly helps me make a case for Pearce. Whereas you see Stenhouse, he's all over the dang place in terms of lap positions, and he finishes 18th.
Yeah. So put up that Ryan Evans one-hog thing. We knew this was going to happen because the 3 lineup is so bad. And the 2 lineup isn't very satisfying either. What is the natural progression?
Don't play. No, it's
one-hog. How? Look, I'm not criticizing. We just said this earlier. This is where we have ended up because salary is so tight, and there's people that we don't believe in. That it's a legitimate question. Are you going to build? So you have 20 lineups. Are you going to build any with one hog?
Yeah, I'll have one with probably Elliott. If I had to pin down one guy to build around, and if I hate everyone in the top 10, and I don't think they're all going to lead laps, and I think Elliott walks away with it. I would build around Elliott. However, I think that puts you at a severe disadvantage because
it just
if he doesn't lead last year, that's dead on arrival. So you could argue the same thing for a Keselowski lineup, for a Hamlin lineup. I think the safest would probably be Elliott. But
we just look at the averages. If you take one guy, then you are forfeiting 42 points on average. The only way that works in my mind, even before I looked at this number, but I knew it was probably pretty high, is you are basically gambling that the second best driver wrecks. Is there any other way that there is a one-hog lineup?
It's either the second best driver wrecks or the best driver wrecks. Like whoever gets all the last.
Yeah, but so he ends up being the second. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So I mean, it's a situation. It's pretty much you need leaders to wreck each other.
I mean, it has happened. I think I don't know if it was the second best guy because that wreck has to almost happen at the end in a way that it takes out the second best driver. Because let's say that the second best driver wrecks or has an issue halfway through the race, then someone else just becomes the second best guy. I think you look at this spring race, last spring race, Elliott probably was the best of the second best, but he has that issue, which kind of eliminates him from the optimal lineup. So I guess that kind of works, but Logano just steps in and becomes the second best driver,
Look at the
so you still needed two of these top guys, huh?
Look at the race where Elliott wrecked.
I think that was 2018 fall or 17. We'll get to it.
I don't remember if he led laps.
So here's another one with Kurt Busch, has a good day. So there it is. Yes, I bet that the second best driver was, well, guess what? Kazaki just steps up and becomes the second best driver. So you not only do you need the second or the best driver to wreck, it's got to happen at the end. That's just not it's not a highlight. I guess it did happen the one year. So here it is, two hogs again. It must have been in 17. We'll find it. We'll get to it eventually. Here's one. Was this when Elliott and Hamlin were messing with each other?
Maybe.
That might be. Yeah, it is, because Matt Kensington won his last race.
Okay.
So there it is. There's the case for the two best guys. But that was also going into the playoffs. They already had bad blood coming over from the Charlotte or the Martinsville race the week before. And so for this rare outcome to happen, you needed like weeks building up to this. You need a championship type scenario. I don't see these guys wrecking each other for the win at the end of the race. Do you?
Yeah, I don't see it. They don't care enough right now. I mean, maybe if it happens, it's going to be a complete accident because I don't see somebody getting pissed and just dumping someone like Gordon did.
Probability. If you run this race 100 times, how many times does that happen? This race, not any other race. This race, this specific day, all the certain things going on. It's not a playoff race. There's no.
I'll give it around probably 30%.
30, I would say 3%.
Really? And that's why I said I don't think they do it on purpose. If they dive into turn one and somebody does what Jeb Burton did yesterday, these cars can't survive that.
But that's not this race. That's an Xfinity race. I mean, we got to talk about talented drivers. Fourth race of the season. You have to factor in all the stuff that's happening in Cup, and you can't say, well, it happened in Xfinity. Because if you're asking Xfinity, I would say, yeah, 40, 50% of the time it'll happen because they're lunatics and they just don't care. In this series, on this day, with all the things going on, because you need a caution at the end, and you need someone to do something stupid up front. I don't know. I just don't. I
got to bring Jordan up here because he was right. They entered that corner 3 wide yesterday, or not yesterday, last year.
That was early in the race though, so that wouldn't. And you talked about this. Go ahead. You looked at the replay. About the Keselowski wreck.
What am I talking? I mean, Keselowski got no damage, and
that's my fault saying Keselowski rebounded because I didn't go back and watch the race. But you watch and the damage wasn't much. So to say that was a rebound, and you can look at the lap by lap data, and you can see that we did this last night in the show that nothing even happened to Keselowski, and it actually was almost perfect for him because he went in and he was able to take tires. So. Well, if you watch the show and you're watching this again, I apologize.
We're sorry.
We went over this last night. But you see Keselowski runs into this issue, and you see that all of a sudden he's back in the top 10. So that will tell you right there that his damage wasn't significant. But he also gets back because he doesn't pit. Like, well, how did he get away with not pitting? Well, when he took these tires, he then goes out and runs it's like 3 or 4
laps. It's 3 or 4 seconds slower than
look at these laps. He knew exactly what he was doing. He ran in 32nd and 29.4, 37, 31, 35.6, almost 10 seconds off the pace. He went out there, absolutely preserved his tires, didn't pit, and he's right back in the ball game. So I guess he did rebound slightly from adversity, but he didn't really overcome like a damaged car, though.
Mm-hmm.
But it is a good point, I guess, that, I mean, Hamlin was crazy, but it has to happen at the end for this one-hog thing to work.
Do you think we have a green white checkered?
It's going to happen now since I've made such a strong.
Yeah. Do you think we have a green white checkered?
I think maybe at least 5 lap shootout.
Yeah, I think we do. I don't know if
we
we go into overtime.
They you know how NASCAR is.
NASCAR overtime. I don't know if we do that, but yeah, I think we're gonna. This whole 300 lap race is decided in the last 5 laps on a restart,
which helps Larson.
Mm-hmm.
It definitely does, and does not help. The thing that goes against Chase Elliott, a guy who's got long run speed. And was really good on the long run. If there was a caution last year in that championship race, Brad Keselowski's your champion. Guarantee it.
Mm-hmm.
Bet the house. I wonder how many. Here's a good question. If anyone out there knows, how many late race shootouts has Chase Elliott won in his career? Green flag finishes. Anybody? I mean, I don't know. Any? Maybe I know at a road course. I think he won a couple road courses that way. Daytona road course last year, I'm pretty sure was a late finish. It was, but that's different. That's a road course where sure you really can't just do something stupid. And I don't know.
Sure, I can quickly find out because he's only won 4 races.
Oh, throwing some Chase Elliott shade.
Here, let me look at his 3. Let me look. Oh, my bad. He has 11.
So if we do think there's going to be a lot of cautions, and we're kind of on we're leaning towards that, then at 11,500, does it change your perspective on Elliott any? I know we're supposed to be talking about these value guys, but hey, I think Maccabee got us in an interesting direction here.
I think that's why so if you think, I don't think it's going to be a wreck fest in Stage 3. Like, I think we have a late race yellow. I don't know if that necessarily saves people who are laps down or saves the values. Now, if they just continue to wreck in Stage 3, it's going to help a lot of the value come through, like Suarez, Bubba Wallace, Chris. It's going to help them out. The more crashes we have, the more it helps the guys in the 5K range and the low 6K range.
They can at least pit and take tires. If you don't get a wave around, you can at least go get 4 tires and maybe make something happen.
Yeah.
But what about over the top? Do you going to lower Elliott any with? But if he finishes 5th because the restart at the end doesn't go well, he's probably got enough laps led. In fact, I mean, you just look at last year. If there was a late race caution at the end of that race, he's still optimal. Mm-hmm. He had 50. He didn't have to win that race. Winning the race was not what made him in the winning lineup. It was that he led so many laps. So the cautions likely aren't going to change anything for me for Elliott. If anything, I would just be looking for an excuse to save money. I don't think it works. Is Reddick really a thing here with the high line? Well, if you watch the fall race, no. He said he maybe had a 15th place car and he didn't even finish 15th in the fall. He did seem to find something in the spring. Now, that might have been just because no one was really doing it. And I believe that by the fall race, you have to look at the laps. So I don't want to say that I'm not completely confident in what I'm saying here, but I'm pretty sure that in the fall race, people were up high a lot more. Maybe Reddick running that top groove was just mainly him kind of being the only guy, but I don't know. It seems like more of an anomaly than anything. He was fast until he got in the marbles and ended his day.
Do you want to know your answer to how many?
Yes.
Including road courses and super speedways, it's 2.
What were they? Road courses and super speedway shootouts?
Yeah, it was a Talladega race, and I think it was a Watkins Glen. I just X'd out of them again.
Yeah, and look, I'm not surprised. Alan Gustafson and a lot of people said Jeff Gordon struggled on restarts late in his career, and he did, but it could just be setups. These guys are building long-run cars more often for Chase Elliott, and not a lot of short-run speed. And we went through Keselowski's restarts at Phoenix last year, and both Phoenix races is awesome. I think he had maybe 2 bad restarts in both races, and the rest were good restarts where he gained spots. And I didn't look up Richmond, but if he won at Richmond, then he had good restarts. And I didn't look up New Hampshire, but if he won at New Hampshire, then he had good restarts. Andy's in the number 1 pit stall, which I thought Larson would be number 1, but apparently they're doing pit selection based on qualifying position. Whereas in the Xfinity Series, it's based on what they did last week. Why NASCAR makes up these stupid, just pick a rule. Do you have any idea why they're doing that?
I have no clue. No idea. I mean, Keselowski.
Clown world.
Yeah.
All right, so Keselowski gets the number 1 pit stall. That should help him in his terrible pit crew. Some.
Man. There's a competition? Yeah, it's lap 30. Oh, it's lap 30 today. I thought it was lap 20. So that they're gonna lap up to 33rd then.
Yeah.
33rd, 32nd, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not really worried about those guys anyway.
All right, we're 40 minutes into this. We got to actually talk about the real value here.
We don't have any questions. Time change messed people up. They're all watching the replay, I guess. Okay, so we went over Stenhouse. We talked about Pearce. McDowell would be lower. I mean, the price. Really, the big draw to Pearce and Stenhouse is the price. And so I'm not really that interested in McDowell. And I think he's probably going to finish worse than both of them.
Mm-hmm.
Same page?
Yeah.
Buescher can finish better than both, and you're going to pay for it, but you're also getting a slightly more preferential starting position. If I could afford Buescher, then I would gladly go to him over Stenhouse and Pearce. If I can't, then I'm not going to rearrange a lineup to get into Chris Buescher. What is your perspective? I mean, his finishes have been fine. Maybe he does finish. You look at the 4 races that I care about in the low downforce package. He finished a lot better but he finished better in 3 of them than where he ran. But hey, maybe that's his thing. I don't know, but I trust that he can get to the finish. I trust he can get a better finish than the other 3. Where are you?
I was reading who's the other 3, or who's the? I know who 2 are the guys you're talking about.
Stenhouse, Pearce, McDowell. I probably should have McDowell in that conversation, but
I think McDowell scores the most, and then Pearce, and then Stenhouse. So I would rank those 3: McDowell, Pearce, and Stenhouse if we're looking at those 3. I was reading Wes's.
McDowell's your number 1?
From those 3, are we talking about value in general?
You like McDowell better than Stenhouse?
Yeah.
At that price point, why?
Yeah. Because I think McDowell finishes with 33 points, and I think Stenhouse finishes with 18 points.
Well, would you try to find money to get to McDowell over Stenhouse? Would you rearrange your lineup for him?
No, like if I'm playing either McDowell or Buescher, I know we kind of talked about, or you talked about him as well. Like I'm going out of my way to make sure I can afford him. Like if I'm stuck with Stenhouse, I'm not going to tear a lineup to get off of Stenhouse. I wanted to bring up Wes's point right here.
Can I interrupt?
Go ahead.
Is there a cash line? Tell me what this cash lineup is. I mean, I guess you're just playing a bunch of place differential. Is that what the cash lineup is?
I would guess. I mean, and I was going to answer with Wes. Like, I mean, I guess the safest play is place differential. So, if you're throwing in Eric Almirola, throwing in William Byron, if you believe in him, and then whatever. If you're playing someone like Elliott with him as well, and then you're just kind of stuck with not as poor values. But I don't
think you're going William Byron. Let's guess his lineup. I'm guessing he's got Eric Almirola.
Yeah.
I'm guessing he's got either one of these guys, if not a couple, Custer, Wallace, Briscoe.
I'm
not.
Oh, it's probably Custer. Yeah, everybody has Custer. So we have Eric Custer.
All right. Let's give him Keselowski. Let's give him Elliott. That gives us what, 12,400 left. Or else we're going to take a Chibi. I hope that Haley is not. 12,400 left. Let's go with Buescher. That gives him 6,000 left. That's terrible. I don't even know where we're doing this. I'm done. I can't build this.
Yeah, but I
don't like it.
Yeah, I don't think there's a safe value or there's a safe build. I mean, there's so many unknowns. All right, let's continue talking about the driver. It's related to cheap drivers in Cup. It's not.
I don't think 6.0 value is slim by any means. We see plenty of these guys get 6X at short tracks. There will be cautions. There will be lucky breaks. There will be drivers that we don't expect to hit 6X, especially at some of these price points.
And
I often think they hit 6X at the short tracks more often than they hit 6X at the intermediate tracks.
There's a chance that if there's a lot of wrecks, it's not only one or two guys hitting 6X in this value. Like there's a chance that you're going to see, maybe not Briscoe, but there's a chance Alfredo, Suarez, Wallace, Custer, Newman, Busher, McDowell. I mean, Pearce and Stenhouse. Obviously, I just mentioned all the guys, but if certain races happen there's a good chance like three or four of those guys hit 6X.
Yeah, if this thing goes green, a lot of these guys are just screwed. And so they score negative points. They have terrible days. And so some of these really bad plays just have bad days, but the bad days don't hurt you as much. And they open up these solid guys who should score a lot of points in a really green race.
Mm-hmm.
If there's a bunch of wrecks, then these guys necessarily aren't really affected, but you add more cautions, you give more opportunities for 3 leaders. If you have resets and stacking them back up, pit stops, the more cautions there are, the more likely that we get multiple leaders. If we get multiple leaders, again, then that demands these really bad guys in the back. So there's 2 scenarios right there that favor a stars and scrubs lineup. Now, you could make the argument that if it goes really green, maybe we just have 2 guys that have monster days. And then maybe some of these just mid-tier guys just luck out. I don't know. Like I say, we got a Kurt Busch question. I just don't see them having a package that's going to lead laps here from CGR. Because people are I don't know about Christopher Bell. I don't think my gut says no.
If I'm aiming for somebody to hold their position, it's going to be Pearce and Stenhouse and not Bell. That's just me.
Bell could have a good day, but he's got to be fast. Okay, maybe you just get up in front and run that PJ1 and just hold position because it's impossible to pass. But he's got to hold off Keselowski, Hamlin, Elliott in a high horsepower race. He's never done that before.
Mm-hmm.
So could this be the first time? Yeah, but I'm comfortable being late to the party.
Yeah, I understand. Related to Super Draft, so their multipliers have been off a lot this year. If you look at the winning lineup last week in 15, which I didn't play this one, but this was the winning lineup. You had Larson at 2X in your championship spot or champion spot. Your Briscoe at 2X, Matt Benedetto 175, Ryan Blaney 165, Anthony Alfredo at 2X. I would say that the champion needs to be probably the biggest lap leader with the best multiplier. And so when you're comparing, if you're looking at Elliott, if you're looking at Hamlin, if you're looking at Chase or Brad Keselowski has the best multiplier of those guys, but he needs to lead probably over 100 laps to work in that situation.
I don't know anything about Super Draft.
Yeah. So
if you were to rank DiBenedetto, Bowman, and Byron, where are you going?
Bowman, Byron, DiBenedetto.
I go DiBenedetto, Bowman, Byron. I knew you would go that way. I'm not going to – people can just look at the numbers and see
how wrong I am.
Bowman's going to win because I'm giving you – Bowman's going to have a great day. Logano is going to wreck on the first lap, and you're going to win a ton of money.
Harvick's going to retire mid-race.
He'll be screaming about how terrible the car is. Hey, Kevin, maybe it's because you're in dirty air. Look, really, Kevin Harvick was really good when they had that different tire. And also, the groove was on the bottom. This is a different groove with the PJ1. Now, people are going to say, yeah, but they had the PJ1 last year. He also was starting up front in clean air. So, whatever. I just don't believe in Kevin Harvick. Really think they priced him too high. The salaries are just all messed up. We really have to operate from that square one. The salaries are too tight. So we have to go into places that aren't comfortable. Your lineup will look ugly, one. And two, you're depending on a lot of luck. We're always depending on a lot of luck, but you really need big breaks. Do you think that's a fair perspective?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. And so if you accept that, then it kind of releases some of the burden and the pressure of like, this can't work. But once you start saying it's going to be ugly and look, I got to get lucky, then you're going to feel more comfortable putting in the Stenhouse lineup. Then you're okay with Ryan Pearce. Then you're okay slapping a Justin Haley in there.
Mm-hmm.
But if you don't, then you're going to sit there and stare at that Justin Haley line for 5 minutes and not hit the button.
You want to answer Andrew, or you want me to do it?
It didn't seem to matter yesterday. It was a cooler day. They were in sweaters, and it was cool last fall. It's a one-groove racetrack. And remember, we were like, oh, is it PJ1? It doesn't matter. It was cool, and it's still the PJ1 was the place to be.
And all the PJ1 did, it didn't create the top lane. It just moved the groove to the top lane. They just ruined Phoenix. You can't do anything on the inside in turn one.
Yeah, at least when you had a bottom groove, you could try to drive in deeper than somebody or get underneath them when the bottom groove is on the bottom, or you could bump somebody, or you could cut it short and it could work. Or if you were really crazy and you wanted to kind of run high or diamond the corner, you had all these crazy possibilities. Now none of that works because the groove is up high and the guy ahead of you always has better drive off, and you can try to get up. It just doesn't work. We saw people, all right, I'm going to try to pass this guy. Oh, I can't complete the pass. And guess what? I just lost 2 spots. I felt like I was watching the Michigan high downforce races where you can't pass anyone. And if you try to pass someone and you don't complete it, then the freight train takes 2 more spots. It's so bad. And so, and it didn't wear off. That PJ1 never faded. And like, this is a longer race, and I wouldn't be surprised if they're going to pour a bunch on, and we'll find out like 2 minutes before the live race starts.
Let's see. Yeah, we talked about Larson and Byron. I'm not lowering any ownership to him.
All right, let's go back to our value, guys. All right, so we'll keep expanding. Newman's fine if you can get to him. Would you rather have Newman or Busher?
I'd rather have Busher. I think Busher finishes ahead of Newman, but there's a real argument to be made that Newman's just stubborn and he can just stay 19th the whole race.
Yeah. It's so hard. We take for granted what Newman used to be. This very 15th place driver every single week, and no one really liked him. He felt like Jamie McMurray. It was the Paul Menard play, but he's not there anymore. He's shown little bursts of life over the last 2 weeks, but those are different packages. I don't know.
I wish someone
would probably going Butcher slightly over Newman, but it's not that big.
Yeah.
Next, Ross Chastain. He's probably just too expensive to be in this conversation.
Yeah.
And he could pull through, but if he could pull through, so could Newman, and he's cheaper. So I wouldn't completely eliminate him. In that Roush car, he was running close to the front towards the very end of the race. I'll pull that up for people to look at if you want some sort of defense of Ross Chastain. Now, remember, he wrecked, so. But before he triggers the chaos at the end of the race, where is he at? Is this spring? He was in 14th place. That's, again, though, that was actually probably set up by cautions here. He has a good run. He was more of an 18th place driver. And kind of bounced around. What do you run? 213 laps inside the top 20. He's probably just too expensive. All right. Next. Custer, you take this.
Man, everybody's going to play. Deja vu, man. Every freaking week we're going to have Custer chalk, and it's the same thing here. And I mean, it might be worse today because there's a good chance that people are like, well,
it's worse.
What?
It's worse. Like last week we had ways to kind of pivot. You're pivoting from Custer to Newman. No one wants to do that. You're going to the no one wants to go up towards the front. No one.
Yeah, so that's what I was gonna say, because they're talking about safe lineups. Oh, Cole Custer starting 24th. Why am I gonna play Newman like you just said? Why am I gonna play Busher, McDowell, LaJoy? I'm not gonna pay up for Eric Jones, Chastain. I'm playing Cole Custer, and then Cole's gonna end up with like 45% ownership.
But I don't want to tell people, because it can definitely work. 15th rating rank, finishes better than that. 20th, he wasn't too far off in the fall. Could have gotten a better finish. 28th, but he ran in 20th. If he runs in 20th, finishes 18th, you're fine. There's a reason why it will, but again, there was a reason why it should have worked last week. It didn't. It's a different package, though, so we shouldn't weigh that as much. But I don't see anyone saying, oh, I burned us last week and then getting off of him. Everyone who jumped on the Cole Custer bandwagon, I had enough Cole Custer. I'm going to get him. I'm going to go back to it again. I could easily see trying to be too smart and not playing him. And I don't want to do that. I'll just play him.
I'll probably end up with 40%.
Yeah.
Busher. Not right. Custer. And that's just how it is. I mean, however, if I'm playing Cole Custer, I'm making sure I'm playing another low-owned guy just to get off the ownership. I don't want to play chalky lineups with Custer.
I don't believe crew chiefs being gone really affects that much. There's a question there. What, Shiplett's not going to be there? I would love to see some data on what this really does, but with, they're going to have a war room. He'll be linked in through a computer. They might as well be there. What Kevin Harvick and Rodney Childers a couple years ago, the penultimate race of the season, and Childers was working the war room, and I don't know if Harvick won the race, but I think he finished second. It didn't seem to affect Harvick's speed, and Harvick even had a wheel go down in that race. If you remember, he's leading laps. He has a wheel go down, blows it flat, but he gets back on the lead lap, and just to make that point, that's some strong adversity. Got to have a good race to get into the championship. For Kevin Harvick on his awesome season, his crew chief isn't there. They're still able to regroup and have a good finish. So I don't think, again, I'm not a part of a race team. I don't know what it's like to sit in a box where you can't hear anything. I don't know how valid. I don't know. I think crew chiefs make a bigger impact during the week is my stand. Where are you at?
Yeah, I think they do. Who's crewing for him? Is it Zipadelli?
I don't know. And also in the past, it was a whole weekend, so he would have been gone. It's a one-day event now. There wasn't. I would if Shiplet wasn't there for practice and for qualifying and all the stuff, but none of it. No, they probably they flew out yesterday. So I don't know. I don't think it's a big deal.
Yeah, I don't think it turns anything. I just want to see. Oh, can't find any.
I bet it would be. Well, yeah, it'll be Zipadelli. He's the competition director.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm too biased.
Really, that's just a guy.
I don't want to answer that question. Otherwise, I'll be like, go 100% on Cole Custer.
He'll be popular.
I like Zipadelli a lot.
Doesn't matter. They're just sitting in a seat tomorrow. They're going to have, with technology, they're going to be able to speak to the guy. All right, Bubba Wallace is right there too. I'd say he's the number 2 guy.
Yeah, so
it's the same exact argument, and maybe it's better. Maybe this equipment's really good, and we just haven't seen it yet.
I'm going to lean more towards that because I'm seeing a lot of people be like, no, this isn't Joe Gibbs equipment. This isn't 5th Joe Gibbs car. And I think it is.
I think it is.
I think it is. It's just, what are you going to do? Last week you had an oil leak and a power steering leak, and you fixed that on pit road. You didn't have to go to the garage to do that. You fixed it on pit road. He was 4 laps down, and he still ended up finishing, I think, 1 position better than he started.
Let me see what his speeds were. I hope so.
Let's see. He finished 28th. I looked through this Monday. No, maybe he started 21st. Either way, he was dead last, and he passed all the lap cars, and he was still running decent speed last week.
Pull it up. If we see decent speed from him, does it say yes, more Bubba than Custer?
Yeah. It would just prove that, hey, this car isn't bad.
All right, let's just zoom to, I don't know, there you go. So we look on that's decent speed right there. I think he has an issue right there. Now he's going to be off sequence with everyone else. So lap 47 for him is probably actually technically lap 53. But what we want to see here is just a 10-lap run. And on a 10-lap run, we'll go from 47 to 56, 175.9. We'll just compare that to a leader right here. So 10-lap run, we had a 175.9, 175. Actually, that's Larson. He probably wasn't leading at that point. I will look at Elliott, yeah. 53 to 62, 175.6. So that looks like a decent amount of speed right there. That doesn't look like an RPM car to me.
No, man. I mean,
these look like RPM speeds to you.
No, it's a Joe Gibbs car. It just can Bubba drive the damn thing? Like that's all.
You say he's getting fired, so. Yeah, I mean, he wrecked in the spring, but he wrecked in the spring and still was able to manage a 19th place finish.
I have a lot of Bubba.
And his 15th place finish in the fall, it was decent, it was legit. So, and better equipment too, I would imagine. The funding started rolling in. What do they do at the other low downforce races? If we were to compare Custer, and Custer was better, but Custer always had better equipment, which matters in the high horsepower. So it's not a fair comparison. We're looking at a team that's underfunded. You know, the other thing is that supposedly these ECR engines got better. Did no one tell Richard Petty, who's like a semi-partner to RCR? That's such a weird thing. Like, they're kind of part of RCR, but they didn't get any equipment. Ty Dillon didn't get any equipment. I don't know. So that's not a fair comparison there. But given the equipment, these are not terrible finishes by Bubba. You know? If I could get the Bubba, then I would go to Bubba over Cole Custer, but I don't think I have to. Probably end up about similar ownership. There's so many bad plays. Why am I fighting these guys? Why am I fighting against these guys when the alternative is garbage?
Yeah, like I have a ton of Bubba just because I think he'll pass 11 people if he can just drive and not get in the wall, not wreck, not do anything stupid, and not get fired. He can finish, 15th, 14th. That's not crazy.
My concern with Austin Dillon is they just weren't good here last year. Yeah, they haven't been good here. I guess I would like to see that fall race where he finished 8th. Where was he running? 11th. It's not bad, but that seems like an outlier performance there. They didn't run well here last year, and they should have. And they missed the setups, I believe, is what they said. They just struggled. Same thing with Tyler Reddick. They both ran pretty well at Richmond, but they did not run well here. What did they do at New Hampshire? New Hampshire might not have quite been before they turned it on. Still had a decent finish. Richmond race, they had a really good car. Them and Hendrick, I think that's when they started doing that engine work. I'm not crazy. I don't think Dillon's going to be at that price. I'd rather just go lower and allow myself to get someone I really liked. All right. Briscoe.
Nope. Let me go back to Austin Dillon real quick because let me see. I think if Dillon gets top 10, I think he's optimal. Because if he finishes in the top 10, that he has to have some sort of speed. And I think that'll lock out other drivers in the 7K. Like if Dillon finishes well and like Bubba doesn't, I think it locks Austin in. I think Austin has the biggest optimal, not optimal potential of anyone.
Yeah, but they can. I mean, I can completely eliminate him, but I would go to Bubba first.
Yeah, I would too, or play them both together. I have that.
Play them both.
I have them both in lineups as well.
Yeah, I don't know. It's always hard to get a read on Austin Dillon because he's not a very good race car driver. It's hard to know when his car is going to be good, and sometimes his car is good, and he's just Austin Dillon. You really need him to have a good performance. You need his pit crew to have a good performance, and you need the car to line up. Other drivers can kind of get away with not checking all 3 boxes. Austin Dillon doesn't. I mean, the only way that he gets away with it is if there's a bunch of cautions. Now, if there's a bunch of cautions and fluky luck stuff, the same things benefit Bubba Wallace, and Bubba Wallace can actually score more points. So, I don't know. I just, like, if this thing's green, you see Austin Dillon running inside the top 10? No, I don't.
I think he runs 12th.
I don't think he runs that. I don't think he runs that. He might run 12th for a portion of the race. But how many laps did he turn inside the top 10 last year at this racetrack? Not very many, I'm betting.
Inside the top 10?
Top 10. Because, I mean, that's really what we have to have. And the answer is 1%.
Oh,
1% last fall inside the top 10. Now, he's in the top 20 the entire race, I believe. I don't have it right here. I didn't do the data, but 1%. That's rough. What about in the spring race? Top 10 for old Dylan. I don't know if he had an issue, but 4%.
And you know, he had top 10 speed in the road course. He got wrecked at the very end.
Who didn't get wrecked at the very end? Who didn't benefit from all those wrecks at the very end? Because Daniel Suarez was running in the top 10 near the end, but no one's going to sit here and say that he's a top 10 car. It's really hard to use that road course. If the thing would have been really green, then I would listen to road course points. But all those cautions, it was a plate race.
Well, just look at the laps before, say, lap 50 or something. I know, like, you don't have to. But I mean, that's when I say I'm looking at the road course, I'm looking at it under green. I'm not looking at the end results.
How was he?
Well, you know, bring it up on the screen. Let's
answer this question.
Oh. I want people
all right, I'll pull it up. You want people to see it.
Also, because I get asked this, you can find this at racefortheprize.com. It's in the description. It's on your screen. It's right here.
So I'm going to spreadsheets. I'm looking up the 2021 data. We're going to look at the lap-by-lap data from 2021. And we will pull up Daytona road course. He actually got to run 2 races, right? He's not really a factor in that dual race. Feels like a lifetime ago, doesn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, it does.
Austin Dillon. And it's crazy because it wasn't. It was last month.
Yeah.
It was almost exactly a month ago. It's a little over a month ago, right? 5 weeks ago. And it's all right. So he starts in 3rd. How did he start in 3rd at this Daytona road course race? Oh, because of Daytona. Great track position, and he proceeds to.
Yeah, but I think that was the stage in because he pitted.
He's got track position where at a track where track position means everything.
Oh, keep going. Let's keep going through. Let's keep going. That's not
still dropping.
Oh man.
This is GME a couple weeks ago. All right, here we go. We'll do a little bit of a cycle. He's back to 11th. Not going to get it done. And then he finishes in 30. What are you talking about?
What do you mean? I mean, look,
bad.
He's going to hold top 15. He's not going to follow the top 15 today.
He didn't hold the top 15 last time. Even if he finishes to the green, I'll say there's no guarantee that he holds the top 15 because all he demonstrated was that he could be passed, and he did not demonstrate that he could pass. So if we go out there today, is he going to pass anybody? I don't know. He didn't do it. Daytona road course. All he did was get passed at a track where you don't really get passed all that much if you know what you're doing. Of course, again, now it's going to be Austin Dillon, no Joey Logano, Kyle Larson, Alex Bowman. Anytime I take these big stakes, anytime I'm mean to someone, they end up just laughing at me.
All right, continuing down.
Road course too. Like, what are we doing? I feel like this is that Ryan Preece situation last week where we go through the. All right. Any last things as we start? I think we covered enough. I'm sorry that I'm.
You want to talk about Suarez? Other than
yeah, right. We need to talk about these guys in the back. We do, and this is going long today, folks. And I'm sorry that we haven't given away the lineup, but this was challenging. You know, it's funny. Yesterday we were really confident. We were so confident going into that.
I haven't been that.
We're going to go a good lineup. England. There's so many players, and guess what? It turned into an absolute mess. Absolute mess. So, and I say that because we're coming into this thing not confident at all. So we're like, oh man, what are we doing? Well, we thought we knew what we were doing yesterday, and quickly, I mean, just with AJ stinking before the whole thing fell apart, like, confidence means nothing at this point. All right. So speaking of having no confidence whatsoever, let's look at this garbage.
Okay.
Suarez. We're among the entire swath of garbage.
He's king garbage. He's the best garbage
player. Garbage.
He's peak garbage. He's recyclable. Yeah, there we go.
Yeah. All right. I don't disagree. I'm with you. He is peak garbage. If anyone can, when we look at this flaming dumpster in the back, he seems to have the most battle and the most likelihood of just grasping onto that lead lap. We know that he'll gamble, which could absolutely turn it in, which I don't mind. Like when Ryan Sieg gambles, get out of here. When these top tier guys gamble, that scares me to death. But punts and value that gamble, I don't care. Like it's not going to hurt that much. And if we look at equipment, I would say maybe the front row cars. I would rather gamble to this Trackhouse, formerly Levine family. It's probably the best equipment back here. Not talking about Almirola. I mean, we've already done that. He's not in this conversation.
Yeah.
All right. You got anything else you want to add to Suarez?
No, I'll probably have Suarez as well today. I like Suarez way more than Alfredo. I'm not playing Alfredo. I don't think Alfredo works. I think everybody we've talked about already, people like Busher, McDowell, Stenhouse, Pearce, I think they work far more and often than Alfredo does. That gets me.
So you want to do something reckless?
What you want to do?
Is there such a thing as a broadcast booth bump?
For Alfredo?
For Suarez.
Oh, so okay.
Do you want to start this?
We want to talking about that
and see people start retweeting this and writing this in their articles, because I'm just making that up. I don't think that I don't know. There might be a thing. I just randomly popped in my head. Like, that's always idea. Let's float this, see if it gains traction, and let's wait and see if people start tweeting out broadcast booth bump. Maybe it's real. I have no clue, but it sure makes a good tweet, and it definitely could slide into an article. Is there anything to this stupid idea?
Yeah, hey, Suarez, he actually saw the racetrack yesterday. He's been there longer than anyone else.
Trying to rationalize this. He did. You know, if anything, I mean, you listen to like him and Logano signing off at the end, like, well, I hope we get lucky tomorrow. Right? I mean, it's kind of, Logano, they're all really good in the booth. And Fox made a brilliant decision to get Waltrip out of there and let these drivers just cut it up. And they're very honest. And it seems to me like these guys are expecting chaos and just hoping to get lucky.
They don't know what they're doing. I mean, look, if
it's no practice.
If anything, it's a bump down for Logano. You don't want to hear like that was sincere. No, he was like, I hope we hit tomorrow. I hope we do well. You know?
Yeah. Well, he's been in the last 2 weeks, and he's like, I hope they set up a good car. I have no clue. And the last 2 weeks, they did not.
Yeah.
So, all right. You're not interested in
no. Okay, so there's only 3 plays here that I give a damn about.
Who's number 2?
It's Haley. We talked about it a bit last night.
Before you do that, have they snuck Smithley in yet? I looked this morning. Smithley wasn't in there. They can't slide him in this late, can they? And it is Smithley, right?
Yeah, it's Smithley. They do not have him on DraftKings. Let me look at FanDuel.
Does FanDuel do that too?
I don't know. I don't know what they're doing half the time.
Again, these teams could make these announcements, 5 days ago. You don't have to wait. I guess they did make the JJ Yeley one wasn't absolutely last minute.
Okay, they don't have Smithley on FanDuel either. I'm not even going to bother with Super.
I just want to address that. All right, let's go back to you were talking about Haley.
So we saw this last night with the optimizer. It was wanting to put some garbage plays like at the bottom, like just fit in everybody that you wanted to. And Haley, I don't know how often he hits optimal, and I know you said this yesterday. If this is Corey LaJoy car from last year, we were paying this price for Corey LaJoy last year. Yeah,
we would love it. We may not be crazy about Corey LaJoy starting 29th, but a 5,000 Corey LaJoy in the previous year, look, maybe love it, but it's definitely, we would not look at it the way that we're looking at Haley right now. The way that I see other people analyzing Haley and thinking about Haley. I mean, like one of the first comments was, is this Haley week? And I think that's slightly in jest, but we haven't really woken up to the fact that this is really just this year's Corey LaJoie. And Corey LaJoie is, I don't even know what he is, but at his price, I don't really have to worry about it. But a 5,000 for LaJoie last year would have been like, I'm fine with it, would be kind of my response.
The other guy we need to talk about, and you have him projected to pass absolute no one, and I have him to pass no one either.
Don't do it.
Getting 12 points. My main man, the best of the underfunded.
I'm out of here. We went too long.
I mean, look, I this is disgusting. I don't really. I'll probably have one lineup with Haley. I don't think I'm going to get to BJ, but if you want to punt, I don't even see a reason why you bother with Hoff, Hill, Balicki, Ware, Davidson, and then just it's either Haley or BJ, wherever you want to go. If you want,
I don't think the BJ play really opens up the lineups. Like the savings that you get from BJ, they don't allow you to build this super. We were messing with it last night, right? We were jamming in BJ McLeod, and it wasn't much better.
Yeah,
he didn't. There wasn't some trick to like yesterday. If you played Weatherman, which I apologize, Weatherman is. I feel like a weatherman when I'm trying to predict Weatherman because I don't know if it's going to rain or not. My accuracy with Weatherman has been, well, whatever I say, it's going to do the opposite. So if I say take an umbrella, then go enjoy the sun. And if I say, it's going to be a sunny day, then you better stay inside. But Weatherman has just killed me. Anyway, yesterday you could play Weatherman and Perkins, and boy, it opened up some possibilities. Today, if you play Haley and McLeod, it doesn't really do anything for you.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Or, I mean, if you don't play Logano and Harvick, then maybe you can play a lot of good guys with BJ. Maybe that's the plan. Maybe
it opens up who's in there in the middle that you really like.
I like a lot the 7K. I have a lot of ownership to people like Bowman, Kurt Busch, Dylan, Wallace.
Not really.
Yeah. I'm trying to use that area to pivot because I mean that's really no man's land. When you're building so many lineups, you're stuck with like the 7 or you're stuck with the 6 and 5K ranges. I think if you get a lot of ownership,
but you're only getting 2 hogs in those lineups.
Yeah,
God, it's rough today. Did we miss any questions? I think we covered those guys at the back. I'm going to take this off because I don't even want people to look at that. We didn't even really it really could just be this easy day where it's Eric Almirola, it's Cole Custer, and it's 2 obvious hogs, and then a garbage guy. I mean, let's do that. Let's lock in Cole Custer and Eric Almirola and see what it spits out.
Okay.
I would imagine this is probably the cash lineup.
Yeah. All right.
We'll lock in Custer. We'll lock in Almirola, which it's really expensive. We're probably going to end up with like DiBenedetto in my projections. I think yours would go with Bowman. It's fine. Splitting hairs there. Yeah. And then we'll probably end up with 2 hogs.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. And then Haley. Haley's just going to keep getting jammed in, isn't he?
Never. Okay, so let's talk about SHR where this is loaded. SHR, everybody's guessing. They're just not guessing correctly. Okay. And they're young. I think Phil mentioned it yesterday in the Osimo show.
They're going to get terrible feedback.
Yeah. It'd be like me driving a cup car. I don't know what the heck I'm doing.
Yeah, these guys know every single bump. Cole Custer doesn't. Cole Custer just doesn't have any of this experience that these other drivers have in these cars against these people running. You run more laps. That's one of the things Bell said. Like, man, we run a lot of laps here.
Mm-hmm.
Right. You're right, and they need to stop. I love the length of the Xfinity races.
Uh-huh.
I think you get rid of the stages, but
yeah,
I'd like those shorter races. All right, so here we go. This is your cash lineup, folks. Keselowski, Elliott. That's my 1 and 2. I will probably end up with the most of those 2 guys. Mm-hmm. Cole Custer, Bubba Wallace, Justin Haley. That's not terrible.
That's not. I think it
works. I just
that's
because we still end up with Haley and Bubba's fine, but I don't see him scoring a lot of points. It seems like maybe this gets you over the cash line, but maybe not. And it's really Almirola messing with this. Let's take Almirola out. That's fine. Whatever. We don't. That was an experiment. I don't really like the result.
Yeah, I don't like it either.
I don't like Almirola.
But I think that's going to be a very popular build. I think that direction is going to be very popular. I think that's why we're seeing like we saw Cody Ware and BJ McLeod pop up the other weeks, but I think there's a real chance that Haley
actually about Joey Gase week.
Yeah, or Joey Gase. I think there's a real chance Haley gets like 8% ownership.
He should. I mean, if you just look, Haley should outrace these guys in the back. So, I mean, just look at where he's starting and look at he should beat McLeod. He should beat the only person that should pass him back here is Eric Almirola. And if that's the case, he finishes 30th. It doesn't kill you. If he just finishes, and then let's factor in some other guys have failures, some other guys wreck. It's not hard for Haley to get to 26th. Here we go. We're building up the Haley train. You getting on? Heating it up.
Man,
I mean, just think. So for him to finish where as long as he doesn't fail a wreck, he outraces everyone behind him and finishes in 30th. If he finishes 30th, you're not completely dead. You're fine in cash. And I still don't see who's cheaper that's going to outscore him. Anyone? I mean, McLeod has to pass him.
Mm-hmm.
They all have to pass him to beat him. I don't see it. Now, if anybody has a failure, if anyone wrecks, that's always going to be a spot for Haley.
Mm-hmm.
So let's just look. How many cars wreck out of this race on average that are not punts? How many cars fail on average that aren't punts?
Let's see, 3 or 4. That's like
let's pull it up.
Guessing 3 or 4.
Pull up the tape. Because all those will be spots for Haley from 29th position. So, nope. Pearce failed. So there's one. I think Suarez just finished down. So one spot in a green race.
Also, as he goes through this, thank you guys for watching. We've never had this many people, and we've never gone this long before. So thank you.
All right, so we look at the spring race. Okay, I guess the numbers doing well. So again, we're talking about Haley and starting to build this chalk up. Unless you want to go with the Daniel Suarez broadcaster booth bump.
And the
B.
Logano down punt.
Triple B. All right, so if you look at the spring race, which I would say, if you made me guess, is this race going to be more like the fall race or more like the spring race? It's going to be more like the spring race. And so every person that wrecks out that's a medium to top tier team, that's a spot for Haley as long as he doesn't wreck. Blaney, Dillon, that's 2 spots. Reddick, that's 3 spots. Truex, that's 4 spots. We can split hairs over Brendan Poole account. That's 4 spots. If you give me 4 spots with Justin Haley, jam him in.
So my argument would be, I mean, there's a chance you just see Justin and BJ fighting for 29th all day.
It's fine.
If they're doing that, I'm going to play down for McLeod. I'm going to get that extra 500. If both these idiots score 12 DraftKings points, I'm going to get the cheapest. Okay, let me look. Who do I have projected most?
Did we do this already? Let's just look at the results.
I have BJ for 12.
BJ versus Justin.
I have Justin Haley for 13 DK points. So we're splitting hairs over 1 point.
We're not splitting hairs. If you look at Homestead and then go, oh, well, he had a mechanical failure. Yeah, he had a mechanical failure. That's on BJ McLeod. Haley outraced him at Homestead. Haley outraced him at Las Vegas. We had a green flag run here. It's close, but I think it's close. BJ might have been a lap down or 2 laps down. I'm not pulling that up.
We don't care enough to do it. What do you think? What do you think these guys
I'm picking Haley. I'm not taking BJ McLeod.
I would take BJ if we're
so crazy.
If we're doing that. What like with DK point? What do you have them projected? I didn't look at you.
They're not going to do anything. They're just simply spots. And I know that we spent the first 3 weeks saying you can't play ugly punts. It never works. Well, we also started this show out by saying I don't remember pricing ever being this tight or this difficult. Mm-hmm. And if that's the case, then things that have never happened before are now on the board, like playing Justin Haley at 5,000. And again, Justin Haley, if we're saying he's Corey LaJoie and not necessarily the ugliest of punts, we've seen Corey LaJoie circa 2018, 2019 end up in some optimal lineups. So Yeah.
Which, look, I have nearly no ownership to, like, this is talking about like 1 out of 20 lineups, including Haley.
You have no Haley at all?
Right now I have him in 1. I don't have any BJ.
I think I'm going to lean more towards Haley.
That's
allow me to get some really big points. You trust Bowman way too much. You trust Byron way too much.
Really? I mean, maybe that'll be the downfall.
How did you get to this? I would love to know, what day did you say you like Bowman, and what was it that said I like Bowman?
Did you say what day or data?
Like, when did you like? I like Bowman. When you were running through the numbers, when was it, and what? Was it?
Okay, so like, look, you need place differential in some form or fashion in all your lineups. It's either the biggest place differential.
So what happened after you knew his starting position then?
Yeah.
Okay.
What?
So you made it based on his starting position and
not okay. I like Bowman to finish 10th today. That's where I was even before the week, before prices, whatever. He's starting 21st. If I have to play either Eric Almirola or Alex Bowman, I have more confidence in Alex Bowman finishing higher up. I think a lot of people are going to Eric Almirola because they see Eric Almirola starting godforsaken 32nd.
Mm-hmm.
And nobody's talking about Bowman. Looking at
why not Benedetto though?
I don't trust him.
You think it's going to be another bad luck event? Well, like DiBenedetto's going to have bad luck. Bowman had bad luck last week too.
I'm not playing him. Okay, fine, whatever. I lost a 4-figure payday because Bowman blew a tire.
I'm sorry.
Okay, like I'm not playing him to do that. I mean, I'm pissed at that, but I'm not playing Bowman because he and that wasn't even his fault. I don't want to talk about Bowman anymore. I'm getting PTSD over here.
Oh, come on, man.
I'm getting big mad. Big, sad, big mad. All right, any other questions? We're an hour and a half. Anyone else? Any other questions? We'll give you guys another 5 minutes.
It's not getting good. Look at the questions, but we'll recap. We were pretty much on the same page with these top tier guys. You are completely, these are his rankings, by the way, not mine. I'll delete them here in a bit, but just like the biggest thing that you're doing is you are no Logano. It's fine. They can rewind to get your stance on that. I like Elliott, Kozlowski, Logano would be my top 3. And then from there, I'm not too far from you, but generally we have the same kind of idea who's going to lead laps. We think that you can maybe flirt around with these value plays from Stenhouse. Seems like it's crazy, but we explained how maybe that works. But the comfortable plays is Cole Custer and Bubba Wallace. And I have no problem with Suarez and Haley. You probably like, do you have Suarez lineups though? You have no Haley. Do you have Suarez lineups?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, so that's fine. I mean, if I have the money and I'm building that lineup, I would feel a lot more comfortable going up to Suarez because Haley needs people to wreck out. I could see Suarez having a decent rate. He's got the triple B, the broadcaster booth bump, by the way. But I don't see Haley legitimately passing anyone. Suarez could, maybe work some magic here. It could also fail too.
I think the reason I'm not going to Haley as much is because my lineups just haven't had to go there since I'm not paying. I'm probably because I don't have Logano in the player pool. I bet if I had more Logano, I'd probably get more Haley. I'm thinking that's what it's related to. Probably if I had less Alex and more Joey and reran more lineups, I'd probably have more.
Well, if we get a top 10 out of Alfredo, Michael Robinson's got to get an Alfredo tattoo. I don't know if you saw that. Alfredo retweeted that. Michael Robinson's here in the chat. I believe that's the rules, right, Mike? If Alfredo now, he might get a top 10 at a plate race this year, and you're going to completely regret making that promise.
Yeah, that'd be
I would not want an Anthony Fast Pasta Alfredo tattoo. You better hide that thing. I don't know where you're going to put that on your body that you can hide it, but he'll get a top 10 now at a plate race. You have pretty much, you better jam him in that week. Probably not today though. Definitely not today. Yep, that's correct. He's going to get the.
What is this? Yes. Oh my God. What is wrong with you?
You should have set some parameters like, all right, road or plate races don't count. You definitely should have laid that down.
Probably, but no, you're do it like underneath your foot.
Last time I checked, front row won. Daytona 500. Probably my calf. Yeah, that's all right. That'll work.
All right, I think that's the perfect place to end it because we're talking about tattoos on people now. This is, you know, we have gone in a complete circle when we're talking about that.
Yes, we've got the broadcast.
Oh, well, no, okay. What is this? Hold on. I see a real question here before I leave. Hold on.
How do you think the hog point? Well, one thing, if you're using the spreadsheet at racefulprize.com, you can get a general idea right here of past trends. Phil is always really good about talking about this stuff. You can see, you know, based on average, the one guy gets around 68.5, the second 41. So this is the biggest argument against a one hog lineup. There's pretty strong for two, and then you can see where they started, and you can see a lot of these hog points come from starting position. So, you know, is what it is. What's your stand?
And it's the same stance. I think we see the lap lead points and fast lap points. I think if anything, we're going to see fast laps probably go to anybody but the leader, especially when they're in traffic. And then I think we're just going to see the hog points spread out between 3 to 4 drivers today, and probably 2. I mean, let me see. One last look at my lineups. I have Elliott getting the most, and then Hamlin.
More than Keselowski?
Hamlin Keselowski is a coin flip of who gets more.
Oh, I don't think it's Keselowski, but yeah, it's fine.
But and then after that,
even if they're close at their prices, they're both going to be fine.
Yeah,
you know, if Elliott was like, oh, it's close, then maybe you could say no Elliott. But since Elliott's number one in your book, he's number one in mine. He jams in. But if Hamlin slightly beats Keselowski, I think they're both going to be fine.
Yeah, so I would lean probably those 3 first, and then.
But if it's those 3 and they're that close, if you're 2 and 3 are that close, then it seems like the build should be to have all 3 of them in your lineup.
Yeah, which is what I'm trying to do.
How are you not getting into Haley land doing that? Suarez land?
No, it's BJ land. That's my one BJ land.
See ya! Show over!
Thank you guys for watching, man. We'll catch you next week. Thank you.